The Council's laughter. The Galactic Council chamber was the most important room in the galaxy. It was a place where the leaders of 100 alien worlds met to decide the fate of civilizations. The air inside was heavy with the smell of alien perfumes, burning oils, and strange gases from different atmospheres. Every seat was filled with delegates wearing their finest robes, armor, or shining exosuits, and in the center of the chamber stood a single human, Ambassador Marcus Hale of Earth. Marcus was tall and calm, his black suit perfectly neat, his face unreadable. He had been waiting for this moment for months. Earth had prepared an offer for the Council, one that could bring peace and new trade across the galaxy. But the moment he began speaking, the laughter started. It began with a few chuckles from the Eldrin delegation, tall reptilian beings with glittering green scales. Then the Karun, insect-like creatures with sharp mandibles, clicked and hissed in their own mocking language. Soon, the laughter spread across the chamber like fire. Some slammed their hands on the table. Others wiped tears from their eyes. Marcus stood silently, letting the noise wash over him. The Council speaker, a massive bird-like alien with bright red feathers, tilted his head. "Human, your offer is amusing," he said, his voice dripping with arrogance. "You speak as if your small world can change the way the galaxy works." More laughter erupted. Marcus did not answer immediately. Instead, he slowly picked up the datapad on the podium and looked at it as if checking something. When the room finally began to quiet down, he spoke. "Laughter is a good thing," he said softly. "It means you still have joy in your hearts." Delegates stared at him, confused. "But I am here to tell you, joy can vanish very quickly." Some delegates frowned, others leaned forward. Marcus continued, his voice steady. "Earth's offer is simple: shared technology, fair trade, roots, and a defense pact to protect every member world equally." He looked directly at the Eldrin leader. "You may see us as young and weak, but history has shown what happens when you underestimate humans." That sentence made a few alien leaders shift uncomfortably in their seats, the veterans of older wars remembered the stories about humans who fought against impossible odds and still won. But the younger members of the Council dismissed it as old myths. The speaker waved a feathered hand. "Enough," he said. "The Council rejects your offer. Human." His voice was final, and the sound of approval echoed from most of the room. Marcus nodded once. "I see," he said simply. He turned away from the podium and began walking toward the exit. The doors opened with a deep hiss, letting in a blast of cooler air. But just before he stepped out, he paused. Without looking back, he spoke into a small communicator on his wrist. His words were quiet, but carried a strange weight. "If they think we are weak," he said, "then it's time to show them the truth." The alien guards near the door exchanged glances. Something in his tone made them uneasy. Marcus walked out without another word. The doors closed behind him, sealing the council chamber once more. Inside, the laughter slowly returned. But it was not as loud as before. A few delegates whispered to each other, wondering what the human had meant. The Eldrin leader dismissed it with a wave. "Humans talk big," he said, "but they have no teeth." The Karun clicked their mandibles in agreement. Far above the chamber, in the observation decks, a group of quiet alien observers watched the scene. They were not part of the Council, but they had seen this kind of moment before. One of them, an old being with silver eyes, leaned on his cane and muttered, "They're laughing now," he said, "but soon they will learn." Meanwhile, Marcus was already walking through the long crystal corridors of the Council station. Outside the windows, the stars stretched across the void like silver dust. He boarded a small human shuttle waiting in the docking bay. The moment he stepped inside, the pilot turned in his seat. "Orders, sir?" he asked. Marcus sat down, buckled his harness, and looked straight ahead. "Back to Earth," he said. "Tell command to prepare the first fleet." The pilot froze for a second. "Yes, sir." he replied. His voice tight, the shuttle's engines roared to life. Slowly, it detached from the station and vanished into hyperspace. Back in the council chamber, the speaker signed the rejection documents with a flourish. The matter of Earth's offer was officially closed, or so they thought. Far away, in the dark reaches of space, humanity's hidden power was beginning to wake. And this time, there would be no laughter. Secrets beneath Earth's surface, far beneath the busy streets of Earth's cities. Deeper than any subway or bunker, there were places almost no one knew existed. They were hidden behind false walls, under mountains, and even beneath the ocean floor. Only a handful of people had ever seen them, and every one of them had sworn an unbreakable oath of silence. These were the vaults, vast underground chambers built over decades. Inside them slept the true strength of Earth. Rows upon rows of warships rested in massive hangars, their dark hulls absorbing the light. Some were small and fast, designed to strike like blades. Others were so large they could eclipse the sky if they ever rose to the surface. Above ground, humanity looked fragile to the galaxy. Most alien races believed Earth had barely enough ships to defend its own system. But here, hidden from every council sensor, were fleets that had never been seen in public. Every ship carried weapons the council had no name for. Every ship was linked to networks that could predict battles before the first shot was fired. In one of these hangars, a group of officers stood around a glowing holographic table. At the center of the image was the Galactic Council's star system. Spinning slowly, red markers blinked over key planets, stations, and supply routes. General Rena Ortiz, commander of the Earth Defense Command, studied the map with sharp eyes. "So," she said. They laughed. Ambassador Marcus Halle nodded, standing across from her. "They didn't just laugh," he replied. "They dismissed us like children." Rena's lips pressed into a thin line. "Then we will remind them that Earth is no child." She sighed. Around them, engineers worked quietly on final ship inspections. One technician adjusted the shielding on a massive railgun that ran along the spine of a destroyer. Another loaded sleek drones into hidden compartments on a stealth frigate. Every person in the room moved with precision. They all knew this day would come. They had trained for it their entire lives. Marcus placed a small black device on the table. It projected the council chamber in perfect detail. The laughter, the mocking faces, the speaker's arrogant wave. Some officers clenched their fists as they watched. Others shook their heads in disbelief. "Do they really think we're that weak?" One muttered. Marcus didn't answer, but his eyes were cold. Rena tapped the map, and the projection shifted to a different image. It showed asteroid fields far beyond Pluto's orbit. "What they don't know," she said, "is that we have entire colonies mining these rocks." She zoomed in on one asteroid, revealing tunnels filled with glowing ore, materials rare even in the core worlds, all harvested in secret. "And with them," Marcus added, "we've built weapons the Council has never faced." The room was silent for a moment. Then Rena gave the order, "Bring the first fleet online." Deep in the hangar, lights began to flicker on along the sides of a massive battleship. Its engines hummed like a sleeping beast waking up. Crew members hurried aboard, securing systems and running diagnostics. The ship's name was Vigilant Dawn. Though few would ever live to see it and speak the name aloud, Marcus walked to a large viewing window overlooking the hangar. From here, the scale of Earth's hidden power was breathtaking. Dozens of ships stretched into the distance, some still in shadow, others gleaming under the floodlights. He thought of the council delegates, their smug faces, their laughter, and felt a sharp, quiet determination. These ships are not for conquest, Marcus said softly to himself. They are for the moment when peace is refused. An officer approached with a data pad. "Sir, we've prepared the transmission you requested," she said. Marcus took it, scanned the contents, and nodded. "Send it," he ordered. Within minutes, a short message left Earth's hidden networks. It was not a threat, not a declaration of war. It was an invitation, sent to every major world in the galaxy. Witness what Earth can do, it read, and understand why peace is the better choice. In the Council's great cities, alien leaders read the message with confusion. Some laughed again, thinking it another human bluff. Others felt a small knot of unease in their stomachs. But in Earth's deep vaults, the First Fleet was already moving toward launch. And above them, the quiet hum of engines grew into a steady, unstoppable roar. Rena turned to Marcus. "Where will we show them?" she asked. Marcus pointed to a spot on the star map, far from inhabited worlds, but close enough for every Council fleet. "To watch, here," he said. "This is where they will beg for mercy." Asterisk. A message the galaxy couldn't ignore 3 days after Marcus left the Council chamber. Every major news network in the galaxy received the same unexpected transmission. It was short, simple, and carried no symbols of power or threat, but its tone made even the most arrogant leaders pause for a moment. To the Galactic Council and all member worlds, the message began. You have judged Earth without seeing what it can truly offer. We invite you to witness a demonstration. No. Coordinates were given at first. Instead, the message ended with a countdown timer, 72 hours. As the hours ticked down, curiosity spread like wildfire. Some races dismissed it as human theatrics. Others wondered if this was a hidden warning in the great crystalline towers of the Eldrin homeworld. Their leader watched the message replay over and over. His advisors urged him to ignore it. Humans are small, they said. They cannot show us anything we have not already seen. But the Eldrin leader felt a strange pull to attend. Perhaps it was arrogance, perhaps caution. Far away, the insectoid Karun were buzzing with excitement. To them, this was a chance to humiliate humans publicly again. They began broadcasting plans to send entire viewing fleets to mock Earth's show. When the coordinates finally arrived, they pointed to an empty star system on the edge of Council space, no inhabited planets, no valuable resources, just a dead sun and a scattering of broken moons. It was the perfect stage. The Council's media ships were the first to arrive. They took positions in orbit around the shattered moons, cameras ready to broadcast to billions. More ships followed, curious traders, mercenaries, and even a few military vessels cloaked. In observation mode, everyone wanted to see what the humans would do. In one of the observation ships, a young alien journalist adjusted her headset. "This will be over quickly," her producer told her. "They'll probably light off a few fireworks and call it a day." But she kept her eyes on the empty space. Something in her gut told her it would not be so simple. Back on Earth, deep within the hidden vaults, the First Fleet was preparing. For departure, the Vigilant Dawn led the way, followed by sleek black cruisers and deadly silent destroyers. Each ship's hull shimmered with an energy field that no Council scanner could fully read. As the countdown reached its final hour, Marcus stood on the command deck of the lead ship. Every display around him showed the hundreds of alien ships already gathered at the demonstration site. General Rena Ortiz appeared beside him. "They think this is going to be a performance," she said. Marcus allowed himself a small smile. "It is," he replied, "just not the kind they expect." The final seconds of the countdown echoed across the fleet. 10, 9, 8. On 0, the First Fleet emerged from hyperspace, right in the center of the system. The sudden appearance of the massive human ships made dozens of alien crews gasp. They had expected a few outdated vessels, not a formation that darkened the stars. The Vigilant Dawn alone dwarfed most Council battleships. Its smooth black surface reflected no light. It moved slowly, almost lazily, as if unbothered by the hundreds of ships watching it. Marcus's voice came over the universal broadcast channel. "Today, you will see only a fraction of what Earth can do," he said, calm but firm. "This is not a threat. This is a choice." Flagship's weapon systems powered up, But instead of aiming at any of the observing ships, they targeted a lifeless moon drifting nearby. The vigilant Dawn fired a single beam. There was no explosion, no fireball. The moon simply split into two perfect halves. The cut was so clean, it looked as though it had been sliced with a blade. Gasps and shouts filled the channels. Some alien captains stared in silence. Others frantically began scanning for the weapon's energy signature. They found nothing they could recognize. Marcus's voice returned. "This is the smallest ship in our hidden fleets," he said. Statement made several military observers choke on their own breath. If this was the smallest, what did the largest look like? In the council chambers far away, the speaker leaned forward in his chair. He could no longer laugh. The galaxy's eyes were on the humans now, and no one dared to speak. Back at the demonstration site, Marcus gave a final order. All ships, vanish. In perfect unison, the entire First Fleet activated their phase drives and disappeared from every scanner. Only empty space remained. The observers stared in disbelief. No one had ever seen a fleet that could simply vanish without a trace. The human message was clear. This was no bluff. And somewhere, deep in their hearts, every alien captain watching knew Earth had just changed the balance of the galaxy forever. The demonstration begins. The dead system was silent. Only the broken moons and drifting debris moved slowly around the cold, dying star. Then, without warning, space rippled like water. The First Fleet emerged in formation, every human ship perfectly aligned. The largest vessel, the vigilant Dawn, took position at the center, its black hull swallowing the faint starlight. On the alien observation ships, jaws dropped. They had expected clumsy transports or outdated cruisers. Instead, they saw lines of sleek warships with designs no one recognized. There were no visible weapon turrets, no exposed engines, no markings, only smooth, seamless armor. It was as if the ships themselves had been carved from a single piece of dark stone. Marcus Howell stood on the command deck, his hands clasped behind his back. "Broadcast to all channels," he ordered. The communications officer nodded and opened. The link, Marcus's calm voice, spread across the system. "This is the strength you chose to mock," he said. "This is the reason Earth offered peace first." A low hum filled the void as the vigilant Dawn began to move. It approached the nearest broken moon. On the Council's live feeds, the moon grew larger until it filled the screen. Marcus gave a single command: fire, from the ship's bow. A faint beam of light extended into the darkness. It didn't roar. It didn't flash. It simply touched the moon like a finger on glass. A moment later, the entire moon crumbled into dust. No explosion. No debris. Just a cloud of fine powder drifting away into the void. The alien fleets erupted in chaos. "Impossible," one captain shouted over an open channel. "What weapon leaves no heat signature?" Another demanded, but the scanners showed nothing. It was as if the moon had decided to fall apart on its own. Marcus spoke again. "This is a fraction of our capability," he said. "Observe closely, for this is not the limit." The vigilant Dawn rotated slowly, its prow now aimed at a cluster of asteroids. The beam fired again. This time it sliced through 5 targets in perfect alignment. The rocks drifted apart in silence, each cut so clean it reflected the dying sunlight. But the demonstration was not over. On Marcus's signal, 3 smaller ships broke formation and accelerated toward the far edge of the system. The alien observers watched as the ships seemed to vanish. Their images blurred and then faded completely. Moments later, they reappeared on the opposite side of the system. They had crossed millions of kilometers in seconds, without using any known form of faster-than-light travel. Panic began to spread through the council delegates watching from their homeworlds. If such ships could appear anywhere at will, no planet was safe. No fleet could defend against something it could not see coming. Inside the council chamber, the speaker gripped the edge of his podium. His feathers twitched nervously as he whispered. To his aides, how long had they had this technology? No one answered. The humans continued their silent performance. Two destroyers locked onto a massive chunk of rock nearly the size of a small moon. Instead of destroying it, they used tractor beams to move it, slowly, impossibly, as if it weighed. Nothing. The alien scientists watching knew the truth. Even the strongest council ships could not budge such an object without massive energy expenditure. But the human ships moved it as easily as a child moving a toy. Then came the final act. Marcus gave the order for all ships to cloak. In less than a second, the entire First Fleet vanished. The alien fleets scrambled to track them, but found only empty space. Even the most advanced military sensors detected nothing. The observers whispered to each other in fear. If the humans could do this here, what could they do in enemy territory? Could they already be above alien homeworlds without anyone knowing? The vigilant dawn reappeared directly in front of the main observation ship. The sudden presence of the massive vessel sent shockwaves through the alien crew. Marcus's voice came through one last time. "You laughed at peace," he said quietly. "What comes next is your choice." Then, without waiting for a reply, the First Fleet jumped to hyperspace. The dead system fell silent again, but the galaxy itself was no longer at peace. The demonstration was over, and the fear had only just begun. Old wounds, old fears. The demonstration had ended, but the echo of it spread across the galaxy like a cold wind. In markets, in military bases, in private homes, everyone was speaking about the humans. Some called it a trick. Others said it was impossible, but a few, the oldest and most experienced among the stars, simply went quiet. They had seen something like this before, a long time ago, on a distant desert world. An alien historian named Varish locked himself inside his archives. He pulled out dusty crystal records, each one glowing faintly with stored memories. As he scanned them, images of past wars played before his eyes. He saw burning fleets, shattered moons, and worlds left empty. And in the center of those memories, he saw humans, not the humans of today, but warriors wearing old armor, wielding weapons that tore through the enemy like fire. Varish whispered to himself, "They've done it before." He knew now what the council had awoken. They thought they were dealing with a young, harmless species, but history told a different story. Humans had once fought an empire older than the council itself, and they had won. Back on Earth, in the underground vaults, Marcus stood with General Rena Ortiz in a war room lit by dim blue lights. The holographic star map now showed more than just the council worlds. It displayed ancient battlegrounds, places Earth had fought before it ever joined the galactic community. Rena pointed at one marked with a red star. "This is where the Orion War ended," she said. Marcus nodded. "Most of the galaxy thinks that war was between two alien powers." He said, "But they don't know humans were the third side, the side that ended it." For centuries, Earth had hidden this truth. It was not shame that kept them silent. It was strategy. The fewer enemies who knew of humanity's true strength, the longer peace could last. But now, with the Council's insult and rejection, that veil of secrecy was slipping away. In the Council's core worlds, panic meetings began. Military commanders reviewed ancient files sealed for hundreds of years. Some of the files were so old, they had to be unlocked by elders who had sworn never to speak of them. When they finally saw the contents, even the most hardened generals felt fear. The files told of human fleets appearing out of nowhere, destroying enemy armadas in hours, then vanishing before a counterattack could be organized. It told of human strategies that predicted enemy moves so perfectly, it was as if they could see the future. In the grand office of the council speaker, aides rushed to report the findings. The speaker listened in silence, his talons tapping the desk. "So they were never weak," he said slowly. "They were only pretending." Meanwhile, far from politics, Ordinary citizens began to feel the tension. On mining colonies, workers whispered about the day the humans might come on trade routes. Ship captains spoke of changing their routes to avoid Earth's territory. Even smugglers and pirates were suddenly careful not to provoke human patrols. Back on Earth, preparations were accelerating. Deep in the hangar of the Vigilant Dawn, engineers installed new weapon cores that pulsed with a quiet blue light. Marcus walked the decks, speaking to crew members one by one. "You may be called upon to fight," he told them. "But remember, our goal is not destruction, it is control." That night, in the quiet of his quarters, Marcus reviewed the Council's history. Every insult, every time they had ignored Earth's warnings. He thought of the laughter in the chamber, the arrogance on their faces, and he knew there would be no going back. On the edges of Council space, smaller alien nations began to send secret messages to Earth. Some offered alliances. Some offered information. A few even begged for protection. They had seen enough to know which side would win if war came. In a shadowed corner of the galaxy, Varish the historian sent one final message to an old friend on Earth. It contained only 4 words. "They will come again, asterisk, Earths." Reply the Council chamber was not the same as before. Gone was the laughter, the casual arrogance. Now the air was heavy with tension. The delegates spoke in low voices, eyes flicking toward the main doors. They all knew who was coming. When the tall human figure entered, every sound in the chamber stopped. Ambassador Marcus Hawley walked to the center. His steps calm, his face unreadable. He did not wait to be invited to speak. "This meeting will be short," he said, his voice carrying across the vast room. The speaker shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "Human, you come here without request," he said. Marcus nodded. "Yes," he replied, "because I am not here to ask for permission." He placed a small device on the podium. It projected a live feed of Earth's first fleet, not a recording, but a real-time image. Hundreds of ships hovered in formation just outside Council space. Their black hulls gleamed like the void itself, engines pulsing with quiet power. "This is not a threat," Marcus said. "This is a reminder. You have 72 hours to accept Earth's original offer: shared technology, fair trade, mutual defense." His tone never rose, but the weight of his words filled the chamber. A delegate from the Karoon hissed in anger. "You cannot give." "The Council ultimatums." He snapped. Marcus turned to face him. "You laughed at peace," he said. "Now you will choose between peace and something far worse." Gasps rippled through the chamber. Some delegates whispered to each other, calculating in their minds what a war with humans would cost. Others stared at the projection of the fleet, imagining those same ships above their own homeworlds. The speaker tried to regain control. "If we refuse?" he asked. Marcus's answer was instant. "Then your fleets will vanish before they fire a shot." In the military command centers across the galaxy, the ultimatum spread within minutes. Some worlds began recalling their ships, afraid to be caught in human crosshairs. Others ordered their fleets forward, unwilling to bow to what they saw as human arrogance. Back on Earth, General Rena Ortiz oversaw the activation of the Second Fleet. Rows of massive carriers left the vaults beneath. The mountains, orbital shipyards lit up as new warships powered their engines for the first time. If the Council refused, Earth would not fight with only one hand. In the shadows of the Council chamber, a few delegates were already making secret deals. Encrypted messages left the building, offering loyalty to Earth in exchange for protection. They understood that survival meant choosing the winning side before it was too late. Marcus saw the shifting expressions on their faces. He knew fear when he saw it, and fear meant the Council's unity was cracking. "You have always believed Earth was alone," Marcus said. "That belief was your first mistake." The projection behind him changed. Now it showed fleets from smaller nations moving to join Earth's side. Some were old enemies of the council. Others were simply tired of its control. The speaker banged his staff against the floor. "This is intimidation," he said. Marcus stepped closer, his voice dropping low. "No," he said, "this is mercy." Without another word, he pressed the device on the podium, and the projection vanished. He turned and walked toward the doors. At the threshold, he paused and looked back. 72 hours, he repeated. When he left, the chamber exploded into arguments. Some screamed for war. Others demanded surrender. But every delegate in the room knew one truth. The humans had spoken their final warning. Far away, in the black between stars, the First Fleet waited, engines quiet, weapons cold but ready. They were the shadow above the council's head, and the countdown had already begun. The galaxy stunned. The 72 hours passed slowly for the galaxy. Every news channel counted the minutes. Every military fleet stayed on high alert. And in the skies above dozens of worlds, civilians stared upward, as if expecting to see human warships appear at any moment. In the council chamber, the atmosphere was nothing like the day they laughed at Marcus Halley. Now there were no jokes, no mocking smiles. The delegates looked tired, pale, and divided. Some had not slept in days, afraid that a single wrong word might bring human fleets to their homeworld. When the final hour began, the speaker called for silence. The delegates knew they had to decide. Some demanded a vote for war, others pleaded for peace. The debate was fierce, but time was running. Out, far away, on the bridge of the vigilant dawn, Marcus stood with General Rena Ortiz. Every display showed live feeds from hidden human scouts placed across council space. They could see every major fleet, every military installation. Rena looked at the clock. 5 minutes, she said. Marcus simply nodded, back in the council chamber. The vote was finally called. World after world submitted their decision. Some grudgingly agreed to Earth's terms. Others refused, swearing they would never bow to humans. The speaker sent the results to Marcus's flagship on the Vigilant. Dawn. The data flashed on the main screen. Marcus read it once, then handed the datapad to Rena. "Half have accepted," she said. "Half have chosen war." Marcus took a deep breath. "Then they will learn," he said quietly, with a single order. Human fleets moved. In a dozen systems, council military bases went dark. Not destroyed with explosions, but shut down completely. Their power drained, their weapons locked. Entire fleets found themselves adrift, their engines dead, their communications jammed. No shots were fired, no lives were lost. But the message was clear. Earth could take everything from them without spilling a drop of blood. In the council chamber, chaos erupted. Delegates from the defiant worlds demanded to know how their fleets had been disabled. Marcus's voice came over the chamber speakers, calm and steady. "This is the gentlest way we can respond," he said. "Peace was always our offer, but understand, if you choose war again, you will not get a warning." Some delegates bowed their heads, defeated. Others sat frozen, unable to accept that their power had vanished in an instant. The speaker's feathers hung limp, his voice shaking as he addressed the chamber. "The council will sign the agreement," he said, "effective immediately." Across the galaxy, the news spread in seconds. On frontier worlds, small alien nations celebrated. They knew Earth's new position would keep the council from bullying them. On council-aligned planets, people whispered in fear about what might happen next. And in the criminal underworld, even smugglers began. Avoiding human space entirely, the balance of the galaxy had shifted forever. When Marcus Hyle left the council station for the last time, no one stopped him. No one laughed. Every eye followed him in silence as he boarded his shuttle. The moment the hatch closed, he allowed himself a single quiet breath. "It's done," he said. General Rena Ortiz's voice came through his earpiece. "For now," she said. "But they'll test us again." Marcus smiled faintly. "Let them," he replied. "We'll be ready." As the vigilant dawn and the first fleet faded into hyperspace, the galaxy was left with a new reality. Earth was no longer the quiet newcomer in the stars. It was a power no one could ignore, and somewhere, deep in the cold reaches of space, a hidden signal pulsed. It was not a distress call, not a threat, but an invitation. An invitation for those who were ready to stand with humanity, *.